Her name was Sarah Baartman, a young woman from South Africa who was taken from her home, shipped across the ocean, and placed on stage for Europeans to stare at, not because she was a performer, not because she chose fame, but because of her body. For over 200 years, her story has been twisted, forgotten, and misunderstood. Today we tell it properly, in simple words, step by step, from who she really was to what the world did to her, and why her story still matters today before the pain. Before she was a symbol, she was a simple girl with a simple life. Sarah Baartman was born around 1789 in South Africa's Eastern Cape region. She belonged to the Khoi people, one of the oldest cultures in the world. Her childhood was normal. She lived close to nature. She helped her family. She learned traditional songs. She laughed. She played. She dreamed. She grew up in a community where her body shape was normal. Among Khoisan women, steatopedia, fuller hips and buttocks, was natural and respected. To her people, her body meant beauty. To Europeans, it would become a spectacle. She was not born to be a show object. She was born to be free. The world arrives. Her peaceful world was about to be invaded. During Sarah's lifetime, South Africa was being colonized by the Dutch and British. This changed everything. Colonizers took land, cattle, homes, freedom. Khoi people struggled to survive. Sarah grew up during this chaos. Her parents died early. She worked as a domestic servant near Cape Town. One day, a man named William Dunlop saw her. He was fascinated by her body, not her personality, not her dignity. He promised, travel money, a better life. But the truth was different. He did not want to help her. He wanted to use her. The contract that changed everything. She signed a contract she couldn't understand. Sarah entered an agreement, but she could not read or write. She was promised a share of the profits, a chance to perform a trip to Europe, and eventually return home. But in reality, she was being taken for display, as a curiosity, as something exotic, as something not human. She boarded a ship to London. She was only in her early 20s. The moment she left Cape Town, she entered a world that saw her as entertainment. Arrival in London. London was not ready for her, and she was not ready for London. When Sarah arrived in London in 1810, crowds gathered immediately. The newspapers described her as the Hottentot Venus, a strange figure, something Europe has never seen. In London, she was, shown on stages, forced to stand still, touched, poked, inspected. People paid money to look at her body. The only thing they cared about was her shape. She was displayed wearing tight clothing. She was told to turn around. She was told to show her silhouette. She was told to smile. She wasn't performing a talent. She was the performance. And every night she went home with no freedom, no money, and no dignity. The court case hook. For the first time, someone asked, "Is this even legal?" London's African community and abolitionists were outraged. They took her case to court, accusing her handlers of slavery. Sarah was questioned publicly. But this is where history becomes sad. Sarah defended her handlers not because she loved them, but because she feared them. She had no options, no power, no support, no way home. The court allowed her to stay on exhibition. For Sarah, even justice could not save her. Paris, a new stage, worse than before. If London was cruel, Paris was crueler. Her owners sent her to France. There, she was handed to a man named S. Rayo, a circus trainer. Paris audiences were even more obsessed with her. She was displayed like an animal, an attraction, a scientific specimen, She performed in circuses, taverns, and private shows. Scientists examined her body as if she were not human. They wrote articles comparing her to animals they claimed she was less evolved. They reduced her to physical features. She could barely speak French. She had no one who understood her hook. Paris promised fame, but it delivered misery. The final years. She was becoming weaker, but the world did not stop using her. In Paris, Sarah suffered. Cold winters, poverty, sickness, loneliness. She died in 1815 at only 25 years old, most likely from disease, exhaustion, harsh living conditions. But even in death, Europeans did not give her peace. Her body was dissected, her organs were displayed in jars, a cast of her body was made and put in a museum. Millions saw her as a curiosity, never as a woman. For 200 years, her body was not allowed to rest. The long journey home. It took 2 centuries for the world to say, enough. For decades, African leaders demanded her return. France refused. But in 2002, after pressure from Nelson Mandela and South African activists, her remains were finally returned on August 9, 2002. Sarah Baartman was buried in Hankey, Eastern Cape, the land where she was born. Her grave became a symbol of dignity, Africa's resilience, women's struggle, and the cruelty of colonialism. After 200 years, she was finally home. Why her story still matters. Sarah's story is painful, but necessary. Sarah represents how black women's bodies were objectified, how colonizers dehumanized African people, how racism was disguised as science, how power can silence the powerless, how history can erase the truth. Her story teaches us respect, dignity, the danger of judging bodies, the pain of exploitation, the importance of voice and consent. She is a reminder that beauty, culture, and humanity must never be turned into entertainment. Her story forces us to look at the past so we do not repeat it. Who she really was. Before the world twisted her story, she was simply Sarah. Sarah Baartman was a daughter, a sister, a friend, a young woman with dreams, a person who loved music, a woman who laughed, a woman who trusted the wrong people, a human being worthy of respect. What happened to her was not her fault. She did not choose humiliation. She did not choose exploitation. The world chose it for her. Today we speak her name not to repeat her suffering, but to honor her strength. Final lines. She was Sarah Baartman. She was human. She deserved better, and her story will never be forgotten.